What happens when India's biggest streaming platform decides it's no longer satisfied with just airing cricket or coffee with Karan? And now it wants to take on YouTube and Instagram. Well, you get Sparks, a bold new experiment from JioHotstar that is out to win over Gen Z and millennial viewers one short video at a time. In February this year, just before the IPL kicked off, JioHotstar launched Sparks. It is a free creator led vertical packed with bite sized episodes featuring the likes of Tanmay Bhatt, Zakir Khan, Ranveer Brar, and Elvish Yadav. Now, on paper, it might sound like just another experiment with content. But if you think about it a little bit, you will realize that this is actually a super ambitious product shift that the platform is trying to make, especially after its blockbuster merger with Disney India's business.
So it is JioHotstar's hook and retain strategy, where they want JioHotstar in its ideal state to be a hook for the younger audiences, where they move from JioHotstar Sparks, where they watch episodic shorter form of content, and they move from, which is free by the way as of now, and they move from Sparks onto the longer form of content or sports content, which where the entire monetization funnel starts.
Now, at the heart of this very strategic move is a small but mighty 25-member team that includes former top executives from, well, YouTube and Instagram. Their mission? Turn JioHotstar into a serious player in the short form video space. But wait, let's get real. This is like David trying to beat not one but two Goliaths, that too on their home turf. Add to that the fact that this is a space where the rules are always shifting, creators are supremely loyal, and content never sleeps. So, what makes JioHotstar think that it has a chance? So, today on this episode, we are joined by my colleague, the Ken reporter Rounak Kumar Gunjan, who dig deeper to find an answer to one big question. Can a streaming giant reinvent itself as a scroll worthy destination? Welcome to Daybreak, a business news podcast from the Ken. I'm your host, Snigdha Sharma, and I don't chase the news cycle. Instead, every day of the week, my colleague Rahil Philippos and I will bring you one business story that is worth understanding and worth your time. Today is Thursday, the 17th of April. Hi, Ronak. Okay, so first question, right? We understand, what Sparks is kind of trying to do. It wants to take on YouTube and Instagram through short form content, but also it is trying to maintain these very fundamental distinctions, right, between itself and these two giants. Can you begin by telling us about them?
So the first difference between the two will be the fact that YouTube and Instagram are user-generated content, while JioHotstar will always be professionally generated content, which means that the cost of production will also be different. For YouTube and Instagram, it is far lower, and for JioHotstar, it will be slightly higher. But JioHotstar is completely aware of this, and it wants to keep its cost of production for Sparks at about one tenth of that of its long form content, which is very visible in the content that it is sort of hosting in JioHotstar as well. You will see a difference in production quality, etc., for its long form content and its Sparks content. That's the first difference. Second difference will always be supply of content. YouTube and Instagram, since it's user generated, since there is a revenue sharing model as well, you will see a difference in terms of supply of content forever at JioHotstar and YouTube slash Instagram. And JioHotstar is also completely aware of that part of the puzzle as well, which is why it wants to keep its episodic content as interactive as possible so that people keep coming back to it and don't feel that there is a shortage of content on the platform. The third difference is that of a feedback loop. So Instagram and YouTube have this feature of comments, for instance, or super chat, for instance, which make the user slash viewer feel as a part of the community where they can comment and the creator can sort of either reply or tailor his or her content according to those comments. While that's not really a scene at JioHotstar Sparks, they don't want to go with comments ever, and they're absolutely clear about it. They've had extensive meetings, internal meetings, etc., and they've discussed comments at length, and they've come to a conclusion that they don't want to go with comments.
Right. This is fascinating. This decision to kind of forego comments altogether, especially because they want to tap into the Instagram and YouTube audience. But we'll come back to this later. First, I want to ask you, about this episodic content that you mentioned earlier, like these, micro dramas and capsules, right? Can you explain what these are and why they're gaining traction, especially in China?
So we're constantly fighting against falling attention spans, right? TikTok became really famous. Then Instagram Reels came in, and then YouTube Shorts came in. All of them are extremely famous because it's either 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute max of content that you see, and then you scroll over. So you don't have to commit for 40 minutes, 45 minutes, or a couple of hours for movies, etc. So, which is why the popularity. Now, micro dramas do exactly that, along with the added advantage of not being randomized. So it's a 1 minute episode, and you can, sort of spend a minute on that episode and move on to the next episode, which is again a minute. So within 5 minutes, you've watched five different episodes, and unlike say a YouTube short or an Instagram reel where you're scrolling onto randomized content, a cat video followed by say a car video, here the continuity is also maintained. So it's slightly more addictive than reels, which is why the kind of numbers it's generating across China.
Right. Okay, Ronak, let's come back to the comments bit and, this decision on part of Geosparks to kind of stay away from them. Again, like I was earlier saying, it doesn't quite add up if they want to tap into the YouTube and Instagram audience because uh, interaction is such a big part of the appeal of these platforms, right? So I want to understand, like, why are they doing this?
JioHotstar never wants to experiment with comments because they've done that in the past with IPL. And in terms of live comments and comments that stayed on the platform, it did not really work for them. Also, comments in general has been debated inside Google and Instagram as well. And they found out that there is a lot of moderation that needs to be done, comment moderation, content moderation, etc. Because there are hateful comments, there are comments related to, say, color, race, religion, etc. And all of that needs to be purged before being displayed. So all of that takes a lot of effort. For instance, Meta has this entire global team for comment moderation only. So there is a lot of investment that goes into it, which JioHotstar does not want to sort of take up. So they will never be getting into comments as a company policy regarding JioHotstar Sparks as well.
Right. So, assuming, that they want creators to come on this platform, what then would be the incentive for them to join Sparks? Like, interaction with viewers or audiences plays such a big role in their profession. So, why would they want to come here?
So honestly, the only advantage that creators have when they move to a platform like JioHotstar Sparks is financial. Other than that, there is not really a lot to gain for these creators because they've created their community from scratch either on Instagram or YouTube. They're able to monetize their content on YouTube slash Instagram. They're able to sell their tickets there. The entire offline thing that they have, where they perform at say stadiums or concerts, etc. They're able to sell their tickets through Instagram and YouTube as well. So all of those things, and from a money perspective as well, because it's a revenue sharing thing, they draw a significant amount of money from YouTube and Instagram as well. So all those perspectives fall in place for creators. So the only reason why a creator would want to now branch out to say Hotstar Sparks, Geo Hotstar Sparks, would be just monetary slash financial gains.
Right. But, Ronak, like, with whatever long term plan that they have for GeoHotstar Sparks, isn't this like such a big disadvantage?
It is. In terms of interactivity, in terms of interaction with its audiences, Geo Hotstar is aware that it will have to take a hit on that part of the spectrum.
Right. So, if it is knowingly doing this, can you tell us, does it have any kind of a strategic plan to kind of make up for this in other ways?
Yeah, so they're planning to introduce some of the other things like quizzes, for instance. So what they did was during Coffee with Karan as well, the talk show, they introduced this quiz where they asked audiences as to which color of a blazer would they like to see Karan wearing in the next episode. And yeah. So, and they voted some color, and Karan was asked to wear that colored blazer. So, similar interactive quizzes that they want to do with Sparks as well. As to, for instance, they would be asking the audience which two creators do they want to see collaborate in the next season, or who should be the next guest on a particular creator's show, for instance, or which creator do they want to see do a completely new show on Hotstar. So based on those comments, they'll be taking some decisions, and they want to make the audience feel that they're part of the community, part of the entire process.
Right. I see. So, again, coming back to what Sparks is trying to do, there's still, I still think that there is this dissonance with regard to what it wants to be and how it's going about it, right? Like, I mean, YouTube and Instagram, they've become such important platforms for creators, to be seen and get recognition, land Netflix specials or whatever. So, could Sparks ever become that for creators?
Yeah. So, Snigdha, Sparks will always be the second step for these creators. The first step will always be Instagram and YouTube, because, as they say, YouTube is like this. The first stage for all of these creators where they're seen, noticed, and then they move on to the second stage, which is these OTT platforms. So Sparks will always be an OTT platform only for these creators. Their discoverability, the fact that they get famous, the fact that they will create a community of their own, all of that will continue to happen on YouTube and Instagram only, which is basically the key difference between a user generated platform and a professionally generated platform, right?
Right. Okay. Ronak, can we now go back to how this sort of content has picked up in China? Do you think we will see a similar pattern here? With bite-sized content, which is produced, it is non-user generated, or do you think it'll be different here?
The reason it has not played out similarly in India is because India has banned TikTok. So a lot of creators, a lot of production houses, etc., have started investing in such shorter form of content across the world, and they're hosting it on TikTok and a couple of more platforms. It is only time that in India also we'll start seeing similar content, maybe on YouTube or Instagram or JioHotstar Sparks, where production houses will sort of start producing full series on these platforms through these capsules, etc., where one episode will be a minute long, and then it'll be a 60, 70 episode long series. um, Another reason why I think it'll take on India is because the entire viewer discretion is actually moving towards shorter and shorter form of content. Earlier, you would see even movies being, say, 3.5 hour long. That's almost history now. Uh, One of the most famous Indian production houses for YouTube, TVF, came up with very long episodes. That has sort of come down now. Even their episodes are now shorter. So, because attention spans are falling, we will move towards shorter content. And by the way, JioHotstar, before launching Sparks, reached out to production houses as well. They reached out to Dharma, etc., for shorter form of content. So they are in talks with production houses to start developing these 1 minute capsules for them.
Yeah, I see. But no matter what, Ronak, if you just think in terms of scale, you even mentioned this in your story, like 500 hours of content is being uploaded on YouTube every minute, versus what, 40 45 hours that Sparks had in its first month. Like, it's not even comparable, it's nothing, right? So it's impossible for them to kind of scale up to that extent, then I guess, like, is that something that they accept or what?
Yeah, that is a problem, and they're aware of that supply of content problem. But the thing is, it'll that difference will always remain because the model is such. This is not user generated; it is professionally generated.
Right. Uh, Ronak, there's one more thing that I was thinking about. Like Geo is basically using Sparks as this sort of a funnel, right, to attract younger audiences to its long form OTT content, right? The monetization funnel, like you mentioned earlier in the episode. But again, this audience is not a fan of long form content anyway, and that is the whole point, right? They can't change user behavior, of an entire age group, obviously. So I don't see younger people suddenly becoming interested in long form content because of Sparks, right?
Even if that happens, and you're right, the probability of that happening is very high. But even if that happens, JioHotstar can always be monetized through ads, right? So it's not as if it's a complete waste in terms of production, etc. There will absolutely be some sort of monetization on Sparks as well going forward. But another purpose that it'll serve is discoverability. For instance, marketing efforts and all of those things are not a complete guarantee for a user to know that there is a longer form of content on the platform as well. But if you are on JioHotstar and you are consuming some sort of shorter form of content on Sparks, the chances of you discovering that longer form of content that JioHotstar has is far higher than somebody who's constantly on YouTube or Instagram and has no clue as to what's happening at JioHotstar. So discoverability is also one of the metrics.
Hmm. Yeah, fair. Also, I was wondering, because you were looking at the evolution of short form content so closely for this story, did you come across anything that kind of, took you by surprise?
Yes, yes. So, before getting into the story, I was of the opinion that YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels are absolutely part of mindless scrolling. I thought people don't really put in a lot of thought before they start scrolling, uh, because I mean, I always assumed that scrolling is doom scrolling and nothing else. Uh, but that's not really the case. This person at JioHotstar said a lot of people sort of, even if when they're scrolling through Instagram on Reels or YouTube Shorts, etc., they're very mindful of the kind of content they're scrolling. For instance, they would like to watch only cat videos at a particular time of the day, or if they're at the airport, they would completely move away from videos that sort of show accidents, for instance, or cause any sort of anxiety, for instance. So, and I did not think that there is any sort of a user behavior to be caught there as well. Uh, but JioHotstar said in our content, we are completely aware that a lot of people, when we start mobilizing that part of the audience, a lot of people will be, say, sitting at the airport or sitting at a bus stop or sitting inside a bus and scrolling content. So we want to be very careful of what kind of content we are putting out. We don't want to put out content which makes people anxious or would sort of make people move out of the app because we're scaring them away, sort of a thing. So I had absolutely no clue that people, even while doom scrolling, have choices.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much, Ronak, for joining us. And thank you for tuning in, dear listeners. If you have any thoughts or questions about JioHotstar Sparks, please feel free to send us a voice note or a text message on WhatsApp. Our number is 89711 I'll repeat that again, 89711 And if you like this episode, please leave us a comment on our social media platforms, or you can also send us your feedback on WhatsApp, the same number. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Thank you.
Daybreak is produced from the newsroom of the Ken, India's first subscriber focused business news platform. What you're listening to is just a small sample of our subscriber only offerings. A full subscription unlocks daily long form feature stories, newsletters, and podcast extras. To subscribe, head to theken.com and click on the red subscribe button on top of the Ken website. Today's episode was hosted by Snigdha Sharma and edited by Rajiv CN.